Hello! Today I wanted to make a quick video to go over my journey being raw vegan. So 2 days ago it was my 5-month mark, my 5-month raw mark. And I really want to make this video because I am 5 months in and I can already tell that I'm forgetting how I used to feel, and I'm just so used to feeling good all the time that I really want to make a video for myself to remember this and document this, but obviously for you watching, whether you are interested in the raw vegan lifestyle or just interested in natural health and healing, this video is for you. So yeah, I'm just gonna jump into it and I'm gonna give you some background on where I came from, what led me up until this point of being raw, and why raw. So, and by the way, thank you for watching and joining me on my journey. So why raw? Why raw? Well, it's a good question. Sadly, in today's society, the whole concept of raw veganism is very, very niche. Most people have just absolutely no concept of just living on only raw living foods. So just to break it down, our whole physiology, our cells, everything points to the fact that humans are fruit eaters. So if you think back millions of years ago, humans evolved eating fruit, and we evolved living in the jungle, eating fruit and seeds and things like this. Out of 8 million different species on Earth, there's more than 8 million. More than 8 million species on Earth. Humans are the only species that cook their food. And humans are also the only species who develop degenerative diseases and illnesses. And we are also the only species that shows signs of aging. If you look in nature, you don't see like a zebra developing osteoporosis. So everything is related to diet, and unfortunately this is not common knowledge. For whatever reason, this culture, this society, they want you to believe that you can eat anything. And if something happens to you and you get sick, well, that's like your genetics, or it's always something else. It's always something else that's causing sickness than diet. So anyway, and I'm gonna make another video about just raw food in general. But for this video, I really wanted to go over how it's affected my life and hopefully inspire you to check it out. So, and another thing is that when we talk about health, I completely understand that health is relative, and most people don't think about their health or worry about their health until they get sick or don't feel good and it's too late. Well, it's never like too late, but you know what I mean. They've already developed something, and then they're like, oh, maybe I should worry a little bit more about my health. So health is really relative. So a little background, what's led me to this point. So I have been vegan for over 10 years. Yay! I've been vegan for over 10 years, and it's been amazing, of course. And when I first went vegan, I basically came from, standard American diet of like pizza and just all this types of unhealthy foods, all this junk food. So when I first went vegan, I actually noticed that a lot of my health improved. And I basically, once I went vegan, I've always been healthy. I never got sick after that. My digestion got better. I remember as a child, I would always have a stomach ache as a child. At least every other day after I would eat something, I would just have these stomach aches. I also, as a kid, had, a lot of like constipation and stuff like that. Also, this video, I'm going to share the nitty-gritty things about myself, okay? So anyway, when I first went vegan, I felt a lot better. I had more energy. And I was just living my life, exploring veganism. Of course, nowadays, there's a lot more options. There's like Impossible Meat. There's so many like vegan cheeses, fancy cheeses, all this stuff now. So I think it was about 4 years in of being vegan, and at the time I ate whatever I wanted as long as it was vegan. So vegan pizza, vegan hot dogs, frozen food, just anything. I also ate gluten. I ate a lot of bread and bagels and sourdough bread. And I was just enjoying it. But about 4 years in to being vegan, I had taken some antibiotics for an infection that I had. And at the time, I was already very against antibiotics, but at the time I believed that I needed to take antibiotics. Now I know that they were unnecessary, but it is what it is. So after I had taken these antibiotics, very shortly after that, I started to notice changes in my body, but I didn't make the connection that it was from the antibiotics at the time. So the first thing that I slowly noticed was that all of a sudden I had started getting yeast infections. And I did the probiotics, I did everything, but I couldn't get rid of my yeast infections. And prior to this, I think I had like 1 or 2 yeast infections in my life. And so prior to this, if that happens, you go and you get a little Monistat thing at the drugstore. And yeah, if you're a woman, you know where I'm going with this. And that got rid of the yeast infection, and then I would just go about my life. But something happened after I took the antibiotics, and so I got a yeast infection, and so I did the thing. I went and got the little Monistat box, and I did the treatment, what you're supposed to do, and the yeast infection did not go away. And I was like, that's weird, that's funny. So I think I waited a few days, and then I got another box of the Monistat thing, and I did it again, and again, it didn't go away. So I don't even really remember what I was doing back then. I think just it went away over time. But then another thing happened, and that was that I began to develop food sensitivities. And the gluten, eating bread was, it just got harder and harder to digest bread. I still did it. I still did it for a couple years after that, but I always just felt sick after I ate bread. And yeah, so finally it got to the point with the gluten where if I ate, let's say I had a sandwich for lunch and it had 2 slices of regular bread on it, and I'd fill up on this food, it would make me so bloated and so full that when dinner time came around, I could hardly eat dinner because I just felt so stuffed from the bread earlier, and it was like it didn't fully digest. And then along with that came where if I ate gluten, then the next day I would wake up and there would be this pressure in my head, in my ears, in my sinuses. Like I couldn't hear out of my ears. It was just so pressured. So anyway, I slowly got off of gluten, and then I felt a lot better for a while. And then, but the thing is like I always kind of had this lingering candida. And when I first got off gluten, and sugar, well, processed sugar, I kind of did that at the same time, and I did feel better. But I always felt like there was something missing. So, and there was a time where I had really, really bad candida infection. And I remember I had already experimented with raw veganism prior to this, just because I thought it was fascinating and it made sense. And yeah, I just wanted to try it out. So I had already kind of dipped my toes in the water. So there was one time where I had a really, really bad yeast infection. This was years ago in the beginning. And I remember just being so miserable. Just absolutely miserable. And if you don't know that type of misery where you're like contemplating like if you want to be alive because you're just so miserable. Okay? Not saying I would have ever done anything, but there's a threshold. So I remember that I had heard these raw foodists talk about not eating fat when it came to candida. So I remember doing 1 week on only fruit, no avocado, no fat whatsoever, and I did 1 whole week of fruit. And I remember in that week I felt so incredible. I just felt elated and just so incredible, and like nothing can drag me down, because when you eat all fruit, you're also your mind is really elevated as well. Like it's very hard to be depressed. It's very hard to be depressed as a raw foodist. So anyway, so because I had that week experience of the fruit, I always remembered that. I always remembered that time was the time where I never felt better. So I went along with my life, and I was just vegan, gluten-free, sugar-free, processed sugar-free, basically until now. But looking back, I always knew that I would end up being a raw foodist. And I remember years ago, I told myself, oh, it will probably happen when you're around age 30. I don't know why I thought that. It was just like this intuition, and I made a conscious decision that I wanted to enjoy these various vegan foods before going raw for the rest of my life, because I just had this intuition that I'm gonna come back to raw foods, and then that's it for me. That's it. I'm not gonna go back and forth anymore. Oh, I also have my dog on my lap. So so anyway, sorry, the video is already a little bit long. I just feel like the background is really important. So for the past maybe 3 years, my health got worse and worse and worse over time. I progressively cut out more and more different types of foods from my diet. And I also have always struggled off and on with the candida. But the past 3 years, the candida got so bad where I basically just had it 24/7. And I did start drinking alcohol in 2020. And I do believe that because I had gone back on the alcohol, that this like made me like completely crash and burn with everything, digestion, candida, just everything. So yeah, the past few years I've been trying all these different things like the candida diet. I tried the FODMAP diet, low carb diet, and absolutely no sugar, no processed sugar. I always knew that fruit was not the same as processed sugar, so I did eat fruit here and there, but it was really hard for me to eat like a bowl of fruit and then also eat a vegan cheeseburger. For some reason, I'm kind of like an all or nothing person. So it's like if I'm gonna be unhealthy, it was just easier to eat kind of like on that wavelength of more of junk food, than trying to combine like the raw food with the cooked food. It's too hard for me. I don't know how to explain it. So this is where things got really bad for me. So basically, after I had been drinking a lot, yeah, like I said, my candida just was there 24/7, but I always kind of kept it at bay. And then the past 2 years now, I slowly realized that I didn't feel like I was like everybody else. I slowly realized that I did not enjoy eating food anymore, and the whole way that I looked at food was really unhealthy, because food became this thing that made me feel so sick all the time. And not only was I suffering from this endless candida, I started developing really bad like IBS, to the point where so bear with me, but it got really, really bad. Basically, what made me become raw was that I was absolutely miserable. I was so miserable, and I was so tired of suffering for so long. I didn't even really want to get out of bed, because the itching from the candida was just driving me insane. Like, it was driving me insane. And I knew that if I didn't make a shift, I just can't live that way. I just couldn't live that way. There's just no point to life anymore because I'm just so miserable. Before I went raw, my IBS was so bad, and I already had started eating salads every single day. So today is October 24th. So it's 5 months raw, but from January of this year, I had already started being mostly raw. So I was already doing huge salads every single day. And I would also do smoothies, fruit smoothies, like for breakfast or lunch. And then I'd have a big salad, and then at night I would make just vegan whatever, as long as it was gluten-free and sugar-free. So I'd make burritos. Beans were everything. I could just open a can of beans and just eat beans. So yeah, that's kind of what I was doing from January until 5 months ago. So what happened, even though I was eating predominantly raw and these salads, it just wasn't cutting it. It wasn't helping me enough. And there's like this little voice in my head, like, you know you're gonna be raw. You know you're gonna do raw. Just accept it. Just do it. And I had forgot about a lot of raw foodists. I had forgot about Dr. Morse and Douglas Graham, and I kind of forgot all these people, and so I re-found them, and I started watching all their videos, and it was especially Dr. Morse who helped it click that this is all about chemistry. And he really helped me like get on the wavelength and having this understanding about the human body and the human cells and what goes on when we eat protein and just everything. And it just finally clicked. And the whole idea with all the fat, it finally clicked. So long story short, right before I went raw, because I was having the salads and the banana smoothies, my digestion got really weird. It was almost like my body was trying to clean itself, but then there was obstructions in my intestines. So this is kind of embarrassing, but we're all human. So right before I went raw, I would have a banana smoothie, and then I would feel like I had to go to the bathroom. And I would go in there, and then I would just sit on the toilet, and nothing would happen. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And then I would come back in here and be trying to get some work done on my computer. And 3 minutes later, I would feel like, oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom. And then the same thing. And I would go and I would sit on the toilet, and then nothing would come out. But it felt like it needed to. Like, it felt like I needed it, but it wasn't happening. So this happened for probably a few months, where every single day, like, I couldn't get any work done. I couldn't get any work done because I was running to the bathroom about every 3 minutes, and nothing would happen. But I just kept having that feeling of urgency, right? That feeling that I need to do this. And it just wouldn't happen. And it was so frustrating and upsetting. It was just really upsetting, and it was affecting my quality of life. And then I started actually this is when it got really scary for me, is I would go and sit on the toilet and blood would come out. Yeah. So that was fun. So I was like, "Oh, okay, blood's coming out. What the heck, like what's happening to me?" And I was getting worried about myself. So, long story short, yeah, I started getting hemorrhoids, and it was very not fun. And I went through this for a couple months, and extreme candida. And I also went through, for the past couple years at least, to where I just hated food, and I hated the idea that I had to eat food. And this is not coming from an eating disorder place. It had nothing to do with that. It was just that every single time I ate food, I felt so sick, and I was just so annoyed that I always felt so sick when I ate food. And it made me feel really sad also, because I really want to enjoy food and I want to enjoy having an appetite. And it took me a long time to realize as well that the people around me and how they spoke about food and how they spoke about looking forward to their next meal, I never felt that, and I never had that. And I started to really self-reflect, and I started to realize that for the past couple years, or 2 or 3 years, I never experienced hunger pains. I never experienced my stomach growling in the past 3 years. And I didn't even realize that it had gotten that far, because I'm just living life, and I had no idea that it was like that. And I started piecing all these things together, and yeah, and even now, I've never even heard anybody else talk about this, but I feel like for me, my entire digestive system felt dormant for years leading up to this. And yeah, the only way I can explain it was I never felt hungry ever. I never felt hungry. Every single time I ate something, it was just a chore that I had to do. I had to perform. But it was never enjoyable. So yeah, so that was how it was right before I went raw. So, oh my God, this video is so long, sorry. So then I went raw. So leading up to going raw, I will say that the first couple weeks of raw, I was having some oatmeal with my fruit in the morning, and it took me some time to say goodbye to oatmeal. And I knew that I had to say goodbye. And so it did take me 2 weeks to fully say goodbye to oatmeal. And it also took me 2 weeks to realize the fat connection. And when I say the fat connection, it's just that you should get most of your calories from carbohydrates. And everybody's different. Everybody has a different opinion on this. But from my personal experience, when I first went raw, I was putting olive oil on my salads and like massaging the olive oil in my kale. And like I thought this is what I was supposed to do. And I didn't even really feel that much better until I cut oil out. And ever since I cut oil out, my whole life has changed so much. And not only that, but I kept my fat, my daily fat intake under 10% of my total calories. And because I think it was 2 days that I kept my fat under the 10% mark, It took 2 days for all of my candida to just poof. Just, it was gone. And I just can't say thank you enough to just all these people like Freely and Dr. Morse and all those guys were so helpful in helping me click, helping my brain like click. Because up until then, I thought that you needed a lot of fat, like your brain is made of fat, and you need fat, and you need oils. And now it's just funny, like I can't even believe that I believed that for so long. And I was so scared to get rid of fat because I thought it was going to affect my brain or something. No. And I still do eat fat. Like I said, I just get most of my calories from carbohydrates, from fruit. So let me tell you what changed right away. So obviously my candida just went away. And I started sleeping about 2 hours less per night, which is pretty cool. When I wake up in the morning, I just wake right up. I can just easily get out of bed, whereas before it probably took me like 2 hours to wake up, and I had to like have my tea, and I just had to caffeinate and stuff to get there. Right away I noticed that the skin on my elbows went from being rough to completely smooth. I noticed right away that my lips were not chapped anymore. I didn't need to keep applying chapstick like I usually did throughout the day. And I just felt so much better right away. I just felt so much better, and like this joy for life came back to me. And a couple weeks after that, I started for the first time feeling my stomach growling, and like I was hungry, and I would fantasize about food, and I was looking forward to eating food. And this was such a big deal for me. Like, this was such a big deal for me, and it still is. And I'm still, every day, I'm so grateful that I can't wait for my next meal. Like, I'm thinking about food, and I feel hungry. It's really nice. It's really fun. I love it. It's nice. So another thing that I noticed with raw food that I was not expecting at all was the fact that since I was 16 years old, I had neck pain, and my upper spine is actually crooked, and I've had so much neck pain for over 15 years. I guess for 15 years. And so something that I was not even expecting from being raw was that about 2 months into being raw, I noticed that I just didn't have neck pain anymore. So, and I still haven't had any neck pain as I continue on. And now I understand it's because I'm not eating too much inflammatory foods. And so when you eat this pure, like, it's like pain can't stick on you anymore. It's really beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. It's a beautiful wavelength to be on. And also, if you didn't know this, just being vegan in general You don't have body odor anymore, but especially being raw, there is just absolutely no body odor, bad breath. Not that I had bad breath, but you know what? There's nothing, there's no odor. I think a lot of people don't know that, because when you eat meat and animal products, that is what gives you odor, because the meat putrefies in your system. So that was another thing. So yeah, the neck pain was really important to me. So now I will say my own personal opinions now that I'm 5 months in are that I still need a lot of healing. I really still need to heal everything, but my pancreas especially. I still have malabsorption, but it's very slowly getting better, and I'm being patient. Well, I'm trying my best to be patient and just enjoy the journey. And thankfully, because I am so excited to be having an appetite and eating a lot, that the journey itself is very fun and enjoyable. And I don't crave any cooked foods. I did have cravings the first month. I did. And I had to fight through those cravings, and it was mostly my cravings for beans. And it's just so funny now, 5 months in, I do not crave beans, and I almost can't believe it. Like, knock on wood, like, I almost can't believe it, and I'm just so happy. Because I was a little worried that I was gonna have to fight off the bean craving for a long time. Another funny thing is that it was just my birthday, and I had made a plan to make myself a big raw vegan carrot cake for my birthday. And as it got closer and closer to my birthday, the thought of eating cake was just so unappealing to me. Like, just the thought of eating something that was like similar to cake, similar to bread, I just didn't want it. So I actually didn't make myself a birthday cake. I don't crave bread. I just don't crave it anymore. It feels good. Yeah, it makes me really happy. So I wanted to say though, my own personal opinions on diet. And I do think that if you are coming from a place where you have candida issues or digestion issues, I would definitely recommend doing the low fat, no oil whatsoever. And yeah, it's because the fat blocks the sugar from entering the cells, and it creates the insulin resistance. That's what fat does. That's why people cure their diabetes when they go raw vegan, low fat. Or even, I think even just vegan low fat, you can cure diabetes naturally just through diet. It's the fat. And I will say through these 5 months, I have tried to make a few different recipes, dehydrator recipes, and I am still very sensitive to dehydrated food. It makes me constipated. Not all of it. If I ever post a recipe, my recipes are easily digestible. So I am needing to eat foods that easily digest. So I do not eat many nuts and seeds right now. I had made a raw sunflower seed pesto. I think I only use a 1/4 cup of sunflower seeds, and I mixed it on like two huge zucchini noodles, a fourth of sunflower seeds, and I ate it. And the next day I was constipated. So right now my views are that nuts are just very hard to digest, and seeds, and I would personally rather eat a steamed vegetable than nuts. So even though I see a lot of people in the raw food community eating a lot of nuts, I don't know how they do it, because if you're coming from a really, really sensitive place in your digestion, I just have no idea how people eat nuts. I do eat, I'm trying to eat more. I did eat like 3 walnuts the other day and I was okay. So I'm slowly trying to see what my limits are, but I do recommend doing steamed vegetables versus harder to digest foods. Even steamed vegetables over like raw wrap, in my personal opinion, would be better for your body, easier to go through you. Okay, I made a really long video, and thank you thank you for everybody who's on this journey with me. I hope that I gave enough background about everything. And again, I still have a lot to do. I still want to do a juice fast, and I still want to go on a whole parasite journey later. I'm not ready yet. I'm still trying to heal my kidneys and stuff like that. That's kind of another thing, is that when I was having the hemorrhoids, I also started noticing that when I would urinate, there was a little pain. There was some pain there that started to develop, and I've been on herbs now, and so that's gone. But yeah, it's been a really fun journey, and I just really want to inspire others, inspire you, and I'm also here for coaching. And if you are interested and you want to learn everything that I've done, all my mistakes, all of my years and years of research, I'm also gonna get certified as a detox specialist in a few months or so. But I already feel so much better, and yeah, I just really want to share the message about raw living foods, and that we as humans are supposed to eat this way. And it just goes to show you, because when you do eat this way, everything gets better. Everything improves. Your whole health improves. Your mental state improves. Your sleep improves. Like I didn't even go over my woman things have improved. So I do recommend just considering the raw lifestyle, especially if you are needing some deep healing. I do recommend it. And again, I'll link my little webpage where, if you want, you can book a free 15-minute consultation, and we can just see if we'd be a good fit in working together. So also, yeah, follow me on my Instagram and Facebook, and I'm going to come out with a free recipe book soon, hopefully by the end of the year. And again, all of the food I post and all of my recipes are what has been easy for me to digest. It's not necessarily about raw, because again, you can say like this cheesecake is raw, but it's just all cashews. But if you're coming from a really sensitive place, you don't want to have all of that. So everything that I'm planning to put out right now is easily digestible food and food that heals you. So thank you for joining me on the journey and watching this YouTube video. Sorry if I was a little wishy-washy or a little scattered. I just have a lot to say and I'm so inspired, and yeah, thank you, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.